So, what early lessons taught you that success is not just about having a good idea, but it's about building it with the right structure?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always say that entrepreneurs have two traits, and entrepreneurs are born, they're not made. That entrepreneurs view the world through a lens of monetization, right? So, people talk about comedians, and comedians view the world through a lens of humor. Everything they see, they no matter, it can be dire circumstances, but they'll find humor in what they see. So entrepreneurs are similar in that, we view the world through a lens of monetization. We constantly have thousands of ideas, right? And we think our ideas are the greatest ideas ever created since the beginning of time, right? To ourselves, right? And but again, I said, one of the ways that entrepreneurs think, I'll ask people, so what do you like to do? Just for fun. Every day I go out for a 1 hour walk. I said, well, if you're an entrepreneur, you go out for a walk every day. I guarantee you that every time you go out for a walk, you come back to your house with 100 things that you saw that you think you can turn into a viable business, right? You were just walking down the street, you saw some kid, uh, mowing a lawn. You're like, oh man, I could start a lawn mowing business, So it's kind of so that's one trait. And then the other trait again is you believe that every idea you have is the best idea invented since the beginning of time. And you're willing to basically go homeless to convince yourself that it is, right? You're that maniacally driven um, around your executing on your ideas. Those are entrepreneurial traits. Those you can't teach someone either of those things, right? You're either born with those traits or you're not. Now, I tell people that shouldn't stop you from doing something entrepreneurial. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to do something entrepreneurial. You just need an entrepreneur in the entrepreneurial venture, right? I've never seen an entrepreneurial venture that's successful without an entrepreneur in it. But the entrepreneur in it doesn't have to be the owner or the founder, right? There has to be someone in the business that is so wedded to the idea and so driven by executing the idea that no matter how tough the circumstances get, they're just going to keep coming back to work every day, right, to make this happen. You know, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be one of the toughest things anyone will do. Running a business and launching a business and trying to build a business is one of the toughest things any human's ever going to do in life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have problems every single day. Um, and so if you're not driven around, executing this, the way you think you can, at some point, the problems are going to get so tough that you're just going to say, you know what, I don't need this aggravation. I would rather just go and get me a job, and I don't have to deal with this anymore, right? But entrepreneurs don't think that way, you know. An entrepreneur is like, I don't really care how tough it gets. I don't really care how many obstacles I face. I'm just going to keep coming, until I succeed. Every no I hear gets me closer to yes. I don't really care how many no's I hear, you know. And when you research successful entrepreneurs, you see this theme constantly. If you read enough books about entrepreneurial success stories, you'll start to see this common theme of homelessness, physical and mental abuse, right? Um, it's like you have to be able to hit rock bottom to know that you have what it takes to get out of rock bottom. Yeah. And so that's again, that's an entrepreneurial trait.